You are watching Vichar Jananakartha.
Happiness is for sale. Everyone is selling it. From soft drink to software, from rock star parties to political parties, from billion-dollar travel industries to big pharma, from yoga gurus to online life coaches and influencers. Everyone has the secret to happiness. Everyone is buying everything that is there to buy: product, services, and advice. And yet, for some reason, no one is happy. I don't have the secret to happiness, but I might have the secret to unhappiness. When I was around 4 years old, my parents decided that I should have some music training. I was sent to learn tabla, an Indian classical percussion instrument. Over the next 3-4 years, I won several local competitions. By the time I was 8 or 9, certain traumatizing incidents had already proved to me that these things are inconsequential. I lost interest in the instrument because I realized that these things can neither protect you nor keep you safe. My parents insisted that I continue with it, and so I did, till the age of 19, till I got my degree. It has been over 2 decades since I got my degree, and I have never played tabla since. I have enjoyed music and tried other instruments, but never tabla. Not because I disliked the instrument, but for almost a decade, it didn't bring me happiness. In Mark Twain's book, The Adventures of Tom Sawyer, there is a part where Tom is punished to paint the fence on a beautiful summer day. At first, Tom tries to bribe one of his friends to do the job for him, but the plan fails miserably. Then he tried a new trick. He claimed that the work is very difficult and important, and not everyone's cup of tea. Soon his friends made a beeline to pay him to do his job while he robbed them of their possessions. By evening, he had gathered most possessions of more than half of the kids in the village, and the fence had 2.5 coats of paint. In school, we were usually taught that the moral of the story is that if you make difficult work appear like game, it becomes easier. I don't believe in that moral anymore. I think Mr. Clemens was showing us what we see in everyday life. If you can convincingly promise people that doing something will bring them joy and happiness, they will pay you with their time and energy and sacrifice their happiness for your benefit. Now, maybe I'm wrong and everyone actually enjoys what they do for most of their day. However, if that is true, then these two commonly used phrases demand explanation. Thank God it's Friday and Monday blues. We spend 8 to 10 hours a day on personal care, including sleeping, daily ablutions, getting dressed, etc. The next 8 to 10 hours are consumed by whatever our primary task is. It can be a blue-collar job, a white-collar job, schoolwork, or even taking care of a household. The remaining 4 to 6 hours depends on our circumstances. It could be commute, recreation, or even staring blankly at a wall. The chance that your work is your calling are thin for most of us. Chances are, most of us work for reasons like money, social acceptance, responsibility, etc. Imagine on your 8th birthday, someone gave you a cookbook for kids. For the next 2 years, you tried making the recipes in the book whenever your mother helped you cook. By the time you're 10-11 years old, you have begun to understand food, its flavor, aroma, and taste. You are more interested in cookbooks than your school books. By the time you're 15, you have decided that you want to be a chef. You know your academic path. You try to get in touch with the bakers and chefs of a small town, and they encourage you to take the path. You dream of wearing a chef's hat someday and possibly in a Michelin-starred restaurant. While people watch MasterChef for entertainment, you sit with pen and paper making notes. You get into a culinary school and take an education loan to fund your education. Excited at the realization of the first step of your dreams, you soon get your first reality check. You are the best cook in your town, but here your dishes can hardly pass. you quickly realize that talent isn't enough. Some people are naturally gifted, others have generations of experience behind them, and many already have the connections you don't. In the years, while still at the culinary school, you understand that the chef's hat is far heavier from the inside of the industry than it looks from the outside. You get hired at a decent restaurant as a commis chef, taking care of the tools for a kitchen station, preparing everything, and helping the senior cook. The pay is terrible, but you need the money for your loan repayment, bills, and rent. You join and find out it's a 10 to 12 hour shift of back-breaking work, which includes a lot of being yelled at by your chef, other chefs, and the kitchen manager. Early in the morning, when you finally reach your shared apartment, you see life happening to other people on social media. Your classmates from culinary school, some of whom had the right connections, are living the life you dreamed of having, while others were dropping off from the profession one by one. 5 years have gone by, you have been promoted twice, and you have become a cuisiner. The joy and happiness that you had from cooking are long gone. You have got so used to cooking the same dish over and over that you can cook it with your eyes closed. Everything has become mechanical, but you still keep doing it because this is all you have always known. Once in a while, when you get to visit your small hometown, you are treated like a legend. The kid from the town who is a chef at the fancy restaurant in the big city. Your parents can't be prouder. A 13-year kid from the town seeks your advice to become a chef. You don't have the heart or the courage to tell them the truth. Truth about the hierarchy of the real world, the yelling, the 12-hour workday, or about insufficient pay. The world assumes you are living your dream. In reality, without even noticing when it happened, your dream has become the noose around your neck. Your vocation might be different, and so might be your profession. Your choices might be different, and sometimes they might not be your choice at all. The path, the choice, the reasons, and the motives might be different. But in principle, most of us are living our lives similarly. Does that mean we should stop doing everything that makes us unhappy? Imagine that you are around 40 years old. During your 20s and 30s, you were focused more on your career, and as a result, your physical health became secondary. You have put on considerable amount of weight and your food habits are all over the place. When you try to correct all of this, it will not be a pleasant experience. You might have to give up your favorite sugary drink or your favorite oily snack. There is a very small chance you will enjoy your first run or first workout session, but eventually you will find the happiness that comes from good health. This is almost always a guaranteed return. There are several such scenarios where it is good to go through the unhappiness. However, it has two characteristics. They have a guaranteed return, which is almost always positive, and there will be a point when either the unhappiness will stop or the gains will outweigh them. Example, learning a new skill, a new language, recovering after an illness, etc. You are probably thinking that all this is easier said than done. I agree. Our chef can't just think one day in his late 30s, I've had enough of this. He has become a head chef in a fine dining restaurant. He doesn't get yelled at anymore, but sometimes his food gets panned by disgruntled online reviewers and food critics. Every night he has to sit with his owner and manager to talk about food while they want to talk about revenue. He neither stands in the cooking line nor scrubs plates anymore. But it has been 15 years since he last celebrated holidays with family and friends. Holidays are prime time for reservations and specials, and he can never be off then. His wife has accepted that he will never have time for her, and so has found her happiness elsewhere. He has a child, but he has seen them grow between the bed sheets. He thinks he will be happier if he leaves his job and opens a sandwich cart, but he can't do so for reasons beyond his control. From his mortgage to his credit card bills, from car loans to child's future, everything depends on his salary. It is not always necessary that only a job has to make you unhappy. Anything that you don't enjoy doing but can't quit due to other obligations and consumes a large part of your daily life will make you unhappy. These obligations can be anything from money to society, from status to family. This unhappiness will be a part of our lives no matter how many things we buy. So the question is, are we destined to live an unhappy life? I disagree with that. Our chef didn't start cooking when he was 8 because he wanted to be a chef. He started because that was something he did with his mother. It is an experience as a child of something with someone close that made him fall in love with the craft. Something that we commonly call passion. Most of us are not lucky as our chef. Most of us don't make a living out of our passion, and others don't know exactly what their passion is. The first question is, what is that one thing we will still do even if there is no reward? The reason we struggle to answer this question is that we are trained to think that something can't be passion if it isn't quantifiable. When passion demands validation, it becomes trade. The reason passion and trade cannot be the same is that trade demands that we satisfy the needs of what we have passion for. Cricket fans will know these incidents. In the 5th Test match of the Tendulkar-Anderson Trophy 2025, Chris Woakes walked out to bat with his arm in a sling after his shoulder was dislocated. Or when Graeme Smith walked down with a broken hand in 2009 at Sydney. Why did they do it? They were getting full match fee even if they didn't come out. Their batting didn't change the result of the match. They knew they would still not be able to win. What was it that was in them at that moment that winning or losing was not important, and their broken arm was not important? Most people call this an act of bravery. I disagree. When we act for the sake of act, when we sacrifice not because we will be recognized, praised or remembered, that's our offering on the altar of life. If there is a prayer, that is the only prayer. If there is a God, that is the only offering. Passion is something we do for ourselves. How would you quantify if your passion is to understand people from various walks of life and how they think? You hope someday you will have enough time and resources to travel to other places and countries and see how they live. But you have never explored the city you live in to discover the variety it possesses. 20th century poet, novelist, and short story writer Charles Bukowski, who was once called Laureate of American Lowlife by Time magazine, was a womanizing alcoholic failure for the first 50 years of his life. He had a hard upbringing between the taunts of other kids for his accent and clothes and his father's beating for no reason. He dropped out of college after 2 years and tried to be a writer while doing blue-collar jobs. After failing to become a writer at 25, he gave up writing and worked for the US Postal Service. He drank himself to the brink of death at the age of 35 and decided to quit his job and write full-time again. Within 2 years, he ran out of money and still had no success. He rejoined the US Postal Service, but this time he didn't give up on his writing. He would write on his typewriter every day before going to work. It was finally in 1969, at the age of 50, that a publication company paid him to write full-time. In 2 months, he produced his first major novel, Post Office. In a letter to his friend and author William Packard, he wrote, "We do what we can and we don't do very well. Structured, locked, we pose at it. We work too hard, we try too hard. Don't try, don't work. It's looking right at us, aching to kick out of the closed womb." You can find the links to all documents referred to in this video's description. It is a strange thing to say, especially by someone who has tried to be an author for almost 30 years before becoming one. This letter was written in 1990. He was 70 years old when he wrote it. 20 years after he became a recognized author, and 4 years before he died. In the same letter, he wrote, "Too many writers write for the wrong reasons. They want to get famous, or they want to get rich, or they want to get laid by the girls with blue bells in their hair. When everything works best, it's not because you chose writing, but because writing chose you. It is when you are mad with it, when it is stuffed in your ears, nostrils, under your fingernails. It is when there is no hope but that." In this letter, he is referring to aspiring writers, but he is arguably referring to everyone about the notion of purpose and success. If you have to try, if you have to try to care about something, if you have to try to want something, perhaps you don't want it that much, perhaps you don't care as much. Our chef needs to come down from the ivory prison of his own making, cook the food for the love of cooking and feed the hungry. Not only people who can pay, maybe not every day, but whenever he can, and in the smiles of people who are hungry but will never taste his cooking otherwise, he will find his lost passion. Our passion has to make sense to us, not to the world. We want our passion to make sense to everyone else. We want it validated, recognized, and if possible, to make money. We are thinking trade, not passion. When you have that one thing that you would do even if no one knows, understands, or cares about, the core and purpose of being here in this majestic, beautiful life, something that makes you feel that you are just the medium, the instrument through which the passion happens, something so natural to you that you don't have to try. You might finally understand why the grave of one of the best authors of the 20th century has just 2 words: don't try.